Let me ask you something. You make decent money, maybe even really good money, and yet, somehow, by the time payday rolls around again, there's nothing left. No big purchases you regret, no obvious leaks, just gone. Where did it go? Here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not your salary that's broken. It's your relationship with money. And until you understand that, no raise, no promotion, no side hustle will fix it. In fact, for a lot of people, earning more money actually makes the problem worse, not better, because it gives the problem more room to hide.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Zachy, and on this channel, we break down money, psychology, and wealth building stuff in a way that actually makes sense. No boring lectures, no confusing jargon, just real talk about why our brains do what they do with money. If that sounds like your thing, make sure you're subscribed because we drop videos like this all the time. All right, let's get into it.
Most people believe the same thing. If I just made more money, I'd finally get ahead. It feels true, it feels logical. More income equals more savings, right? But look around. You probably know someone who earns triple what you do and is still living paycheck to paycheck, stressed about bills, with credit card balances that never seem to shrink. And you probably know someone who earns way less than you, who somehow has savings, investments, and breathing room. Same system, same economy, same access to banks and jobs, wildly different outcomes. So if it's not about how much you earn, what is it about? It's about something called lifestyle creep. And it's sneaky because it doesn't feel like a mistake while it's happening. It feels like a reward. It feels like progress. It feels like you're finally living the life you worked hard for. Let's make this concrete. Picture two friends, Maya and Sarah. They graduate around the same time, both land entry-level jobs earning roughly the same salary. 5 years later, Maya gets promoted twice and her income nearly doubles. Sarah's income grows too, but more slowly, maybe up by 30%. On paper, Maya should be miles ahead, but check in on both of them and here's what you find. Maya has a nicer apartment, a newer car, more stylish clothes, and almost nothing in savings. Sarah, meanwhile, has a smaller apartment, drives the same car she had in college, and has a steadily growing investment account. What happened? Maya's spending grew in lockstep with her income, almost dollar for dollar. Each raise became a reason to upgrade something. New apartment when she got promoted the first time. New car when she got promoted again. New wardrobe to match her role. Each decision felt earned. Each one felt small in isolation. Sarah, on the other hand, kept her lifestyle relatively flat as her income crept up, and the difference between her income and her spending went somewhere else entirely. Same starting point, different relationship with rising income, wildly different 5-year outcome. Think about the last time you got a raise or a new job with better pay. What happened in the weeks that followed? Maybe you started ordering food a little more often, telling yourself you'd earned the convenience. Maybe you upgraded your apartment to one with an extra room or a nicer view. Maybe you got a newer phone, a better car, a few new pieces of clothing you wouldn't have bought before. None of these felt like huge decisions in the moment. Each one felt small, reasonable, deserved even.
That's the trap. Your spending quietly rises to match your income almost every single time, and it happens so gradually that you never notice the gap closing. There's no single moment where you sit down and decide, I will now spend everything I earn. It happens one small upgrade at a time, each one justified, each one feeling like a tiny reward for your hard work. Imagine your income as a glass of water slowly filling up. Lifestyle creep is a tiny hole at the bottom of that glass. The water keeps pouring in, sometimes faster than before, but the level never really rises because it's leaking out just as fast through that hole. From the outside, everything looks fine. The glass still has water in it. You're still drinking, but the level you're stuck at never changes, no matter how much more water you pour in. Here's the psychological part, and this is where things get really interesting. Our brains are wired to compare, not to some abstract fixed idea of enough, but to two moving targets, what we had before and what the people around us have. This is called the hedonic treadmill, and it's one of the most powerful, invisible forces shaping your financial life. Here's how it works. You get something new, say a nicer apartment, and you feel a real boost of happiness. For a while, that new apartment feels amazing. You notice the extra space, the better light, the upgrade, but within a few weeks, something strange happens. It stops feeling like an upgrade. It becomes your new normal. The boost fades, the bar resets, and now, to feel that same boost again, you need the next thing. So when your income goes up, your sense of normal goes up right along with it. The $50 dinner that once felt like a splurge now feels routine, something you barely think twice about. The apartment that once felt like a luxury upgrade now feels like the bare minimum you'd accept. Anything less would feel like a step backward. Your brain isn't comparing your current life to where you started 5 years ago. It's comparing it to wherever you already are right now, which keeps shifting forward every time your circumstances change. This is exactly why so many people say, "I'll start saving once I make more." It sounds reasonable. It feels like a plan. But here's the catch. When they do make more, the goalpost moves with them. The saving never actually starts, because enough is always defined relative to the present moment, and the present moment keeps changing right alongside their income. It's like trying to catch up to your own shadow. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, because there's a second psychological force working alongside the hedonic treadmill, and most people have never heard of it. It's called mental accounting. Basically, our brains don't treat all money the same, even though mathematically, dollars are dollars. A dollar in your savings account is worth exactly the same as a dollar in your pocket, but your brain doesn't see it that way. Instead, we create invisible categories in our heads, almost like separate jars, and we treat money differently depending on which jar it lands in. Bill money, the money you've mentally earmarked for rent, utilities, and fixed expenses, feels serious, untouchable, almost sacred. You'd never casually spend your rent money on takeout. But fun money, the cash left over after the serious stuff, feels disposable, like it barely counts as real money at all. And bonus money, or unexpected extra income, like a tax refund, a work bonus, or a gift, feels like it doesn't count at all. It feels like found money, free to burn without guilt. Here's where this gets personal. Imagine you get a $1,000 tax refund. For most people, that money doesn't go into a savings account, and it doesn't go toward debt either, even if they have debt sitting at high interest. Instead, it goes toward something that feels like a treat, a trip, new electronics, a nicer dinner out than usual. Meanwhile, that same person might spend weeks agonizing over whether to spend an extra $50 from their regular paycheck on something similar. Same dollar amount, wildly different decision-making process, all because of which mental jar the money landed in when it arrived. This is why a $200 bonus can vanish on dinners, small purchases, and treat-yourself moments within days, while $200 of your regular paycheck might sit in your account for weeks, carefully protected. Same amount, same purchasing power, completely different treatment, purely because your brain labeled it differently the moment it arrived. Here's a simple way to picture it. Imagine your money as different colored jars sitting in your head. Some jars feel heavy, important, guarded, like they have a lock on them. Other jars feel light, almost like play money, like nothing bad could happen if they got emptied. The problem is, those light jars are usually the ones doing the most damage over time, because you don't defend them the way you defend your serious money. And when your income rises, more and more of your money starts feeling like it belongs in those light, undefended jars. Your raise itself often gets treated like bonus money, money that wasn't there before, so it feels free to spend without much thought.
So now you might be wondering, okay, so what actually breaks this cycle? If lifestyle creep is automatic and mental accounting happens without us even noticing, how do you fight back against your own brain? Here's the good news. It's not about cutting out every small pleasure, becoming obsessively frugal, or living like you're broke even when you're not. That approach rarely lasts because it fights against how your brain naturally works. Instead, the solution is about doing one specific thing at one specific moment before your money has a chance to become normal to you. It's called paying yourself first. Here's how it works in practice. The moment your paycheck arrives, before you look at your bills, before you think about what's left over for spending, before lifestyle creep has any chance to claim that money as part of your normal monthly flow, you move a portion of it somewhere you won't casually touch, a separate savings account, an investment account, anything that's out of sight and out of your everyday spending rhythm. Why does this work so well, psychologically? Because your brain can't miss money it never saw in the first place. If $300 automatically leaves your account on the same day you get paid, your brain adjusts your sense of available money downward immediately, almost instantly. You start budgeting your life around what's left, the same way you'd naturally budget around any other fixed expense, like rent or a phone bill. The hedonic treadmill recalibrates to a slightly lower number, and here's the key part. You genuinely don't feel deprived because you never experienced that money as spendable in the first place. You can't miss what you never had access to.
Go back to Maya and Sarah for a second. The real difference wasn't willpower, and it wasn't that Sarah wanted nice things less. The difference was timing. Maya had automated a portion of every paycheck into investments before she ever saw the money as spendable. Sarah saw her full paycheck land in her account every month, watched her balance grow, and that growing balance itself became the signal that there was room to spend more. Same income growth, completely different starting point for every spending decision. Now compare that to the opposite, far more common approach. Spend first, save whatever's left at the end of the month. The problem is, what's left has a sneaky tendency to be very close to zero. Not because you're irresponsible, not because you're bad with money, but because your spending has already quietly expanded to match your full income, thanks to everything we just talked about. There's nothing meaningfully left to save because your brain never registered that money as extra or available for saving to begin with. It was all just normal spending. This single shift, moving savings to the front of the line instead of the back, is one of the most consistent differences researchers and financial professionals see between people who build wealth steadily over time and people who don't, regardless of how much they actually earn. It's not about discipline in the moment, it's about removing the moment of choice entirely. Now here's the deeper insight, the one that ties everything together. Wealth isn't really about how much money flows through your hands over your lifetime. It's about how much of it you keep, and more importantly, how much of it you put to work before your brain has the chance to relabel it as normal and absorb it into your everyday lifestyle. Every time your income grows and your spending grows right along with it, you're essentially running in place on that treadmill we talked about earlier. You're working harder, taking on more responsibility, earning more, and ending up in the exact same financial position, just at a higher cost of living, with a fancier lifestyle that consumes every extra dollar. The treadmill speeds up, but you're still standing still. You might even feel like you're falling behind despite earning more than ever. But when you protect even a small percentage of every dollar that comes in before your lifestyle has a chance to absorb it, you break that pattern completely. That protected money isn't subject to lifestyle creep. It isn't competing with your hedonic treadmill because your brain never factored it into your sense of normal spending in the first place. It just sits there, separate, growing, completely outside the version of normal your brain keeps redefining every time your circumstances change. Over time, that gap between what you earn and what your lifestyle actually needs to feel comfortable is the entire foundation of financial freedom. Not a bigger salary, not a lucky break, not winning the lottery or a sudden windfall, just a gap protected early and consistently before your brain gets the chance to spend it.
So here's what to actually do with everything we've just covered. Next time you get paid, or better yet, the next time you get a raise or a new source of income, don't ask, how much more can I spend now that I have this?
Instead, ask, how much of this can I move out of sight before I even feel its presence in my life? Set up an automatic transfer, even if it's a small percentage to start, scheduled for the same day your income arrives. Treat it like a bill that absolutely must be paid, because in a very real sense, it's the most important bill you'll ever have, a bill to your future self, who will either thank you for this decision or wish you had made it sooner. And the next time you feel that familiar pull toward lifestyle creep, that quiet, convincing voice saying, I deserve this upgrade now that I'm earning more, I've worked hard for this, pause for just a second before acting on it. Ask yourself honestly, is this something I actually want and have thought about, or is this just my brain quietly resetting its idea of normal again, the same way it always does? Because here's the real reason so many people stay broke even with a good salary, even with promotions, even with years of hard work behind them. It's not a lack of money, it's not a lack of opportunity, it's a lack of a gap. And that gap isn't created by earning more, no matter how much more you earn. It's created by a decision made early and made deliberately before your brain has a say in it about what normal is allowed to be. That decision, made once, automated, and left alone to work in the background, is quietly more powerful than almost any raise you'll ever receive.
And hey, if this video helped you look at your money a little differently, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow and reach more people who need to hear this stuff. Drop a comment too. I'd love to know. Do you already do this, or is this something you're going to start? Let's talk about it down below. And if you're new here, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one, because trust me, we're just getting started. See you in the next video.